Okay, good morning. How's everybody? All good in this snowy day? Winter has not been that bad, so we should not complain. Okay, so week 5. Week 5. Today we're gonna be continuing and wrapping things up what we started last class, which was around text files. So you're going to be reading from a text file, and then you're going to be writing JSON, reading JSON. JSON is not the name of a person. Okay. Who came for yesterday's presentation? Anyone was there? Yesterday's presentation? Did you see JSON there? Who saw JSON there? JSON was there. Not a person, but the technology, okay? So today we're going to be talking a little bit about JSON, and you're going to be writing JSON, reading JSON. Yesterday, the presentation was a company that came by, invited by one of the faculty members, talking about what they do in AI, machine learning, data analysis, and they talk a lot about the different technologies that they use. And again, some of that we have been discussing. Actually, one in particular was very timely. Again, that's JSON that they use there as well. Okay? Okay, great. So let's reconnect with where we stopped last class. Last class, we were writing to a text file. Okay? So we got to the point of writing. I have the code here, and I did a few minor modifications to the code so we can organize it a little bit better. So instead of having the entire chunk of code directly inside the main, what I did, I moved the code to this method called writeTextFile. Okay, so I just moved the code there. Why did I do that? Because today we're going to start by enhancing this application to be able to read the text file as well. Okay? So I'm just going to run the application, and just for you to remember where we stopped last time. So I'm gonna run it. It's going to ask for the employee information, the employee number, the name, and the salary. And then, where does it create the file? Anyone remembers? Anyone? We're going to go to the folder of the project. We're going to go to bin folder, to debug folder, and here we have our text file. If I open that file, I'll see the information. Okay? I just entered there. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to read that file. But then you may say, Addison, you just wrote the file. Why are you reading the file? Well, because we have to understand how we can read the file. I'm not saying that the application that we are putting together as an example is that applicable. But what is applicable here is that you know how to write to the file, and you're going to know now how to read from that same file. Okay? So you're going to have a method to write to the file, and another one that we're going to call read text file. And guess what? It will read from the text file. It will read it. Okay? That's the goal. Again, I have Padlet open here if anyone has a question, or you can always ask me that as well. I'm just going to open it here. Okay. Actually, I wrote this already, so I'm just deleting the method there. So you can start from scratch there. This source code is already available on Instantaneous. If you go to week 4, if you go to contents, week 4, because we are wrapping things up from last week. So if you scroll down, you're going to see program exercise 01, the solutions, program exercise 04, first solution here. And then you're going to see sequential file and JSON file. These two files, they have the projects that are the examples of what I'm talking about today, okay? So they are already there in case you want to have a look. Okay. I have a question there. How can we type each of words in per different line? Okay, I'm assuming that's what I'm assuming from the question, that each word here, each information would be in a separate line. Well, how can you do that? When you're going to write, each time that you call write line, it writes a different line. So write line for the first information, write line for the second one, and it will write in a different line. However, if you do that, you're going to have a bit of a hard time reading that information very easily, okay? So what I'm trying to do here is, in one line, we write the entire information for the employee. In the same line, we're going to read the entire information. So again, if you write each piece of information in a single line, you're going to have a more difficult time reading this information back, okay? But again, that's how you can do it. You can just write line, each information, each one in a separate write line. Write line will write one line with that information, and then you call it again and again. Okay. So we are about to read. We're going to write our read method here. So I'm going to call it a private static because I don't care about creating instances of this program class. So I'm just going to make this method static. So I'm going to just say private static reads text file. And now I'm going to read the file here. Now, we're going to follow, well, I'm missing the return type, voids, there's no return type. We're going to follow a similar structure as we did for writing. When we are reading, we need two classes as well. We need a class to point to the file, and we need a class to read the stream from the file, okay? So the same way as we had a file stream when writing, we're going to have a file stream when reading. So I'm going to reuse this one here. I'm just going to give it a new name. I'm going to call this in-file. The file name, we are reading from the same file, so we're going to keep the same file name. File modes, we're not going to create the file. Let's have a look here. What do you think that we should, how do you think that we should open this file? With open. I have to be careful how I word things because I may give the answer when I ask. So we just need to open. Now, in terms of access, what is it that we need this time? Do we need write, read write, or just read? We are just reading, okay? So we just need read. We should use, as a general rule, the least access that we need. We just need read, so again, just read. If you wanted read and write, that's fine. You can use read and write. But again, I'm not writing, so why am I going to request write permission? I won't, okay? I won't ask for more than what I need. So here we have the file. And then we're going to use, instead of a stream writer, we're going to use a, guess what? Stream reader. Okay, so string reader here. And then I'm going to call it stream reader lowercase s, a new reader. And as a parameter, I'm going to link this stream reader to this file here. So as a parameter, I'm going to say in file. Okay, so again, a file stream and a stream reader to be able to read from the file. Okay. Now guess what? With the stream reader, I can just read the first line of the file. I just have one line, I just read one line of the file. So similar to what we had in the stream writer, we had write line to write the line. In a stream reader, we're gonna have what? Similar to console. Console, when we want to read what the user is typing, we call read line. So we're going to call read line as well. So dot read line. So what read line will return? It will return the string of the first line in the text file. So I'm going to store that string in a variable so that I can manipulate that string, okay? So here's what it will return. It will return that, the entire line. So I'm going to say line equals to this read line. And then you're going to be able to read the line. Of course, I have to declare this as a string, so here we go. For now, let's just stop right there. And let's do two things before we stop. We have opened the file with a file stream and a stream reader. The same way as we did for the stream writer, we're going to close them off. Okay? We're going to close the file, the in file. Because again, I'm done because I just want to read the first line. So I'm done here. So I don't need the file anymore. So I'm going to close the file. I'm going to close the stream reader. And that's about it. Let's have a look how this works. In my main methods, I'm not gonna run write line again because I wrote the file already. So I'm just gonna comment this out just to give this a try. But I'm going to say reading from text file. So I'm just going to go straight ahead and read the file, okay? But I'm going to put a breakpoint here because I want to have a look at what's going on with this line. So let's have a look. So it ran. It stopped there. Now, this line already executed, so if I move the mouse over line, you see the values 56, John, 120,000, okay? And then I'm going to close it. Now, when I say we're going to read the text file, we just did that. We just did. But let's not stop there. Let's create, or let's recreate an employee object with the three fields populated from the information that I'm reading from the file. Okay? So we did, when we were writing, we created the employee object and we wrote to the text file. When we are reading information from the text file and we are recreating the employee. Okay? So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say employee equals to, so employee my employee equals to new employee. Now, for me to populate every single property of employee, I have to do something like this. Employee number will be equals to what? What should be employee number equals to? I know that's 56, but I'm not going to write 56 here. I want to dynamically grab that information from the file. So what do you think I should do with line? We should? Yep, so we should do something with that string that will provide me each one of the little pieces, correct? Okay, someone asked, what will happen if we don't put close methods here? Can anyone give me a hint here? What happens if you don't put close methods? I kind of, I mentioned that last class, but again, I'll throw out there. Anyone?
The data in the file which is open will not be accessible by another program.
Usually that's what happens. If you don't explicitly close, the file may stay open and may stay blocked from being used by another application, okay? That's what happens. So let's work on this line. Let's work on this comma delimited line. Here's what we're going to do. There's a method for strings called split. Guess what split does? Well, it splits the string into smaller chunks, okay? But then, you may ask, how does it know how to split this? I didn't tell anything yet. So I had to tell that I want to split by comma, okay? So I'm going to say split by this character here, okay? Now, split is a method that returns, I don't know if you can see that there. It returns what? What is the type that split returns? An array. It's an array of strings. So in this case, how big will be my array? How many items will have my array? 3 items, okay? So let's do this. How about we declare an array of strings here? How about we do something like this? String, fields. I'm going to call fields because each one of those pieces of information, usually you call them fields. So I'm going to say fields equals to line.split. So fields now will store 3 records, 3 items in this array. First item will be the employee number, second the name, third the salary, okay? Then, what should I assign to employee number? What's that? Fields. .0, like this?
No.
Okay. Like this. But what else? I have to convert because this is a employee number is an integer, the item in the array is a string, so we have to do something like this. Int.parse, and we have to convert to a number, to an integer. And we're going to repeat that 2 more times for each of the remaining fields. Okay, so we're going to do something like this for the name, and then for the salary. Now, name we don't have to convert because it's a string, but again, if you copy and paste, make sure that you change the index. Very easy to forget that. And salary is a double. So instead of converting to an integer, we convert to a double. And of course, the index here is 2. So in an array, the first item is item 0. Okay. So let's give this another try here. I'm going to put a breakpoint. I'm going to run this again. Now let's see. We have fields. I'm going to expand. We have 3 items in the array. Now we have employee number 56, name John, salary 120. Okay? And now we are closing. So not only we read the contents of the file, but we created an employee class, an employee object, and now, just for the sake of it, we're going to output this to the console. Let's just throw that out in the console. So let's do something like this. Console.writeLine. I'm going to say employee number. And I'm going to bring this up. And I'm going to do this. Two more times, so employee name and employee salary. Name and salary. And then salary, I'm going to format this as currency. So I'm going to say C. So any question on what I did here? To read the file? Let's run this again. And we have the information there. What would happen, and I'm not gonna show it here, what would happen if I had more than one, if I wanted to read more than one line here, if I had multiple lines? How would I go about that? I hear loop. Yeah, a loop. What kind of loop? I mean, how would this loop look like? See, we would be looping this part here. We would be looping as long as there's a line to be read, we would be going through it. So what we could do is we could do while read line is different from null, keep reading, keep reading. Once read line becomes null, it means that we got to the end of the file. There's nothing else to be read, okay? Again, the code is there on Centennial. Questions about this? We're going to have a chance to practice this right here. Yes?
For the
The split? Yep.
I guess you can also use multiple characters like this.
Like, it could be this character or that character? Okay, that is something not recommended because you should clearly define how is it that your line is broken by. So, again, I'm not saying that comma is the best one. There is a common delimited format, which is a well-known format. You can break it down by tabs as well. Tab is a special character. Again, if your data had commas on them, you're going to have a bit of a problem there, because then inside of your string, there might be commas that are not breaking down the data, so you may want to use other characters. But split works with one character only, and yes, as best practice, you should pick which character you want to break it down. Now, I'm not saying that manipulating text file is the best way to move forward. Actually, JSON is way better, but you may come across in the industry about go across about different data sets that you may need to import at some point a text file, okay? So this is how you manipulate a text file, okay? Again, you should pick which character you want to use and use it to read and to write. To write and to read. Okay? Anything else? Again, we're going to have a chance to practice that right here, continuing the exercise that we stopped last class. Now, I would like to move forward and convert this to JSON. Okay? So, who can talk to me a little bit about JSON? I mean, just what do you know about JSON? And again, as I said before, not a person here. It's what is it? In your own words. It doesn't need to be a formal definition. Yep, it is. It's a format. It's a format. It's a data format, text-based data format that can be understood by different applications. In a way, it's almost like a standard way for different systems to communicate. This is very used in APIs. Who can tell me what is an API? Third-party functionality. You can think about an API. We know about methods. Methods, we give something to the methods. The method will do something for us, may have a return value back. An API is kind of a method, but this method is not stored in our system. It's stored somewhere else. I can tell you, just last week, I was coding for a project that we had to connect with something called Stripe. Stripe is a payment system, and the communication is via APIs, and the data format is JSON. So JSON, here we are having a look at JSON from a file standpoint, but it can be to transmit information over the web across different applications. A lot of connected devices, guess what? They are sending information and receiving via JSON packages, via JSON in a JSON format. Okay? How does it look like? Well, let me show you this. JSON looks like this. This is a format. It's a text file format, text-based format. It starts with curly braces, ends with curly braces as well. And then we have the different properties, the names of the properties, column, the value of the property. That's how the format works. Okay? And now we're going to see how we can create that. But we're going to create that. It doesn't matter if it's beautifully written like this or if it's in one single line. We're going to create right now in one single line. Okay? We're going to convert our application to JSON. We're going to write to JSON here. Now, it's not the only format out there. You can have XML as well. However, XML is a little bit of a longer format. Things, the final content becomes a bit larger than compared to JSON, and more JSON is more used out there. Okay, a lot right now. As I told you, just yesterday, this company was giving a talk here, and they mentioned about JSON. That's one of the data file formats that they use is JSON. They mentioned XML as well, but XML actually there were two columns, more traditional formats and more modern formats. And JSON was under the more modern formats that they utilize. So again, I'm not talking about something that is 15 years old, 12 years old. I mean, this is new stuff that I'm doing, that I'm working with right now. The industry is working with that right now, okay? Okay, so what are we going to do with that? So let's create a new application. Let's start a new application from scratch. We're going to call this application, we're going to call JSON file. and you're going to be reading and writing here. First, we're going to be writing, and then we may read as a second step. Let's go here to new project. Let's call it JSON file. Again, as I said, the code is on Centennial already under week 4. So overall, in general, we're going to follow the same formats that we followed for the text file. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. I'm going to recreate the employee class. I'm going to copy the one that we had already. I'm going to ask for a new employee class here. Then I'm going to paste, again, the same class, 3 properties. Now, if you do a copy and paste, make sure that you adjust the namespace. It has to be consistent with what is already there. So adjust that. Okay, so I have my employee class, and then I will also follow roughly the same format here. I'm going to just copy this write file text. Of course, I'm going to adjust that, but I'm going to say writing to JSON file. Okay, and here I'm going to say write JSON file. And I'm going to write this method that, again, overall, it has the same structure as the original write method to the text file. But what will change is when we're going to save the file, we're going to change a little bit there. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy the methods and make the necessary changes. Again, I don't want to reinvent the wheel and reuse what we can. So write, of course, JSON file, and writing to the JSON file methods. Okay, so what are we doing? We are asking again for the employee information. We are declaring an out file. It's complaining about what here? What have we not done yet? So we have to, at the very top, say using system.io. Okay, again, the file stream and in-stream writer, they are present in that namespace, okay? Great, so again, very similar. Now, this line here that we are actually writing the line, we are going to change that. Because here we are writing manually each property. And what we're going to be doing with JSON, we're going to be doing all of that at once. But before that, before we are able to call JSON, we have to add a new namespace to be able to work with JSON, with the JSON library. However, differently from system.io, system.io is already present in one of the libraries added by default to your project. So we just have to call its namespace up there because it's already present somewhere here, most likely I think inside this library here called system, okay? But JSON is different. JSON, we have to first import a new library. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. With JSON, we first have to import a new library. The way we import that, we make a reference to that, is by going to the references, by right-clicking there, and by using this option that says Manage Nugget Package. Nugget Package NuGet packages. It's an online repository of assemblies, of libraries, of packages that we can add to our project. So I'm going to activate that. Again, right-click on references, go to Manage NuGet Packages. And then we have a few options here. We have Browse to look for new libraries. We have Installed to look for already installed libraries in this project. And we have Updates, in case there are new updates for any libraries that you have already added to your application. We're going to go to Browse here. And under Browse, we're going to write the name of the library, which is called Newton Softs. I'm going to add that to Padlet, so you can have a quick reference there. By the way, this is also explained in the PDF for week 4. So Newton Softs. Now, if you type Newton Softs, you're going to see 3 libraries there. Pick the first one. Pick the one that says just newtonsofts.json, not the other 2. Okay? So click the first one. When you click there, in the right-hand side, you're going to see details about this library, including a button that says Install. So what this install will do, it will download this package to your project. It's not installing on Visual Studio. It's installing on your project, okay? From the web to your project. Let me open the project folder. If you go to the solution level, you see that we have the JSON file project here. When we install this new package, we're going to have a new folder created here. So I'm going to click on Install. It'll take a few seconds. You can check the outputs. No errors, everything is okay. And now we have a new folder called Packages. If I go inside, I see the package that we just downloaded. Okay? I don't have to go here to the files, but now under References, I can see newtonsofts.json. I can see it there. Now I can go to my application, to my program, and I can say using newtonsofts.json, because we have to use a class from this library, from this namespace. Okay? Okay, so now we just have to add one more line here, and we are done with JSON. We're going to say streamWriter.writeLine, but now we're going to use a class from this new library called JSON Convert. JSON Convert is a class. It's not an instance of that class. It's the class itself. And we're going to use a method called serializeObject. Now, here's what we are doing. We're going to go straight from my employee. At this point, my employee has 3 properties. All 3 properties have information: salary, name, and employee number. Now, we will be converting that object to a string, to a JSON formatted string. The process of converting an object, a complex object, to a string is called serialize. Okay? So serialize is the process of converting an object to a format that can be saved, that can be transmitted across applications. Okay? So we're going to call this method called serializeObject, and we're going to add as a parameter, we're going to add our employee object. So again, serialize, this is a good question for a quiz. Serialize is the process of converting a complex object to a text-based format that can be saved, that can be transmitted to other systems. That's what it's called serialize. Guess what? What is the name of the inverted process? Converting a string to an object. So, one way, serialize. From an object to a string. Now, from a string to an object, what would be the name? Deserialize. It's the opposite. Deserialize. Okay? Now, we are only serializing because we are converting from the object to a string, and we're going to save that in a file. Okay? Let's have a look at that in action. One thing that I missed here. The name of the file, I'm just going to change the extension so you don't get confused. Let's change the extension to .json. Let's give this a try. So let's say employee number, name, and then salary, 99,000. Now, let's have a look at the file, okay? So let's go to the project folder. Let's go to the bin folder, to the debug folder. Here's the file. Just because it has this extension .json, it doesn't mean that it's not a text file. It is just a simple text file. So if I open a text editor, I can drag it over and I can see the information. Look how it's formatted. We see the curly braces at the beginning and at the end, defining the start and finish. We have each property name, and we have the value that we have just entered. Now with that, I can revert, I can read this back and convert this automatically to an object as well. So look at the difference. When we are dealing with a text file, we had to convert explicitly each property. Can you imagine if we had, I don't know, 20, 30, 100 properties? We'd have to put one by one. But when we are serializing, we just say, hey, this is the employee object, serialize that. What it does is, it goes through every single public property, gets the name, gets the value, and then stores that in a string format as JSON. Nobody's asking me questions. One of two things. No clue what's going on, or it's everything clear. My guess? No clue what's going on. Come on. Interact a little bit. Tell me. Tell me. To me, it's clear, of course, because I've been doing this for a while. But I don't assume that for you it's clear. So, again, if I would ask, what is the most complicated thing with this one so far? What would that be? We're going to be using this quite a lot, okay? So, in a second, we're going to start exercise. Take the time to do the exercise because you will be doing something similar during midterm, which, by the way, it's a good point for me to bring this up. In 2 weeks, we're going to have our midterm. Our midterm is week 7. So we are in week 5. The last class of week 7, which is in 2 weeks and 1 day. So Friday, let me bring the calendar here. So 21st is our midterm, okay? My goal is on the 20th, which is in 2 weeks, we're going to take this class in 2 weeks and do an exercise to get you started and warmed up for Friday's test, okay? But again, let's use this time well to practice here because the test will be similar to the exercises. You're going to be presented with a situation and you're going to code that. That's it. No questions, no multiple choices. You, Visual Studio, in the web, in your notes, in your projects. That's it. What is that? You can open anything you want. Anything you want. Well, almost anything. Not group chats, not talking to your friends, okay? Yes. No cell phones. Cell phones, I have a basket that's going to put all cell phones. Okay, so, and again, a quick reminder, end of next week is due date for assignment 2 already. So again, I hope that everybody has a group. I hope that you are working with your assignments, okay? What else? I think that's it. Yes?
So just to recapitulate, so serialized object, it takes a object from the
Yeah.
JSON file and then converts it to a string.
It takes an object and converts to a string in JSON format. Yes.
Okay, so for deserialized, right,
Yeah.
in terms of like actual, what is it? Like how you write it, like the D is capitalized and the S is
You mean the name of the method?
yes.
Yeah, so it's D-E, serialize. So that's the name of the method that you use to do the inverting process. To read, to get a string and convert back to, in our case, an employee.
Okay, and in order to do that, like, just like the syntax for it,
Yep.
is like D is capital and S is uppercase?
Yes, yes, okay? And there is a little bit, you're gonna see in the sample code that is on Instantaneous, if you go and open JSON file on Instantaneous week 4, you're gonna see an example there on how to deserialize, because there's a little bit tricky thing with the syntax when you are doing the opposite direction. But you see there in the example, it's better to see there, okay? No problem. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take 5 minutes. Once we're back, we're gonna jump to the exercise here. So 5 minutes and back to the exercise. I was just looking at, I forgot to put my power cable. That's fine. That's fine. Oh, good.
So
What's up?
I'm a little bit confused about the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
On the requirement B, it
Yep.
says need to demonstrate that I create the two different constructors, which is
So demonstrate is just to go to the main and create an object with the first constructor, create an object with the second constructor. That's really what demonstrate means.
yeah. So I made one object to demonstrate this one,
Okay?
and like yeah, and but also I have to demonstrate this I have to make an object for this.
Another one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we also need
See,
to,
for the second object.
yeah. But the thing is, for the second object, which have to connect to this constructor,
Okay.
it only has employee ID and first name and base salary.
Okay.
But on this requirement, it says ask user to enter first name, last name, base salary.
Yeah. So you can just assign them here. Just because the constructor doesn't have all the properties, it doesn't mean that you cannot assign. You can construct, and then you can afterwards you can say object one dot whatever receives the value. Just because it doesn't have in the constructor, it doesn't mean that you cannot use the properties later in the code.
I can.
Got it?
Yeah, but like it. So
By the way, just a quick note. The first line is kind of wrong, okay? Have a look at the first line there. Because what you are doing here is you are assigning employee ID to employee ID. It's like you declare X and you say X equals to X. So, but again, you take care of that later. I'm just saying that you have to look at that, okay?
But like what I was confused by was so I made a second object
Yep.
to demonstrate like to allow user access.
Okay.
User input.
Yep.
But like when I allow it,
Yep.
it means like
Okay, so the second, what is the second object?
it's here.
This is the second object?
Yeah.
So you are using this constructor, correct? Because
For
that's
now, yeah.
for now,
But,
okay?
like, also, I create a different object to connect to this constructor.
Okay, so you have another one somewhere else.
Yeah, but it means I
Where's the other one? It's commented out?
yeah, because
Yeah, but don't keep it commented out. I mean, when you deliver, make sure that it works.
yeah,
What's the question? I'm trying to understand the question.
because like I also how can I say? So in this constructor, it only has employee ID and those three
Yes.
objects.
Yes, three properties, yes.
Properties.
Sorry, parameters.
Three
Parameters, and then they go to properties, yeah.
But okay, I need to
Formulate the question.
yeah, I guess.
Again, it only has those, but it does mean that after you call the constructor, you can call the other properties
Yeah.
and set them the values. Again, I still don't know what you're trying to ask, but you tell me.
So then, what why like in this constructor, why do we have like in this second object?
Yep.
I allow user to input the all fields,
Yep.
like value of all fields, value of all fields, but like why to allow all inputs, why do we need to use this constructor? Constructor.
Because you have to demonstrate how you can use overloaded constructors.
Okay.
Now, again, it seems that your question is, why not have a constructor that accepts all of them? Is that?
Yeah.
Is that?
'Cause-
You could have that. But again, the exercise is a practice for you to demonstrate that you can use a simple constructor without parameters, a constructor with a few parameters. So I'm not saying that you're gonna do it exactly like that in other situations. I'm just saying that, are you able to do this? If you're asking what's the point of that, is that what you're trying to ask?
Because
The point
it
is-
makes sense to me
Okay.
to use this constructor.
Okay, this constructor here, it's only receiving those pieces of information. Again, it's just for you to demonstrate that you know how to use them whenever required.
The purpose is only demonstrate that.
It's yes,
Okay,
it
because
is.
I was thinking about what the meaning to use this.
Got it. It's a demonstration that you know how to accept parameters and they go to the right places. Okay?
Got it.
Awesome. Okay, it's better if we're gonna go to exercise. I'll drop by and I'll stop by to your desk, okay?
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna continue the same exercise that we stopped last class. So look at this. We stopped on programming exercise 04 under week 4. So let's carry on that one. So if you go to that one, we have started on page 1. Now you have enough information to progress through the other pages. One quick note, here it says orders.json. There should be orders.txt, okay? There's just a minor adjustment there. But again, you're gonna be doing exactly what we did for writing a text file, reading from a text file, writing to a JSON file, and then you're gonna see how to read from a JSON file. Oh, but that is when you didn't show us how to read from a JSON file. Yeah, I did not. So you have to open this file here, JSON file, it's a project. There you're gonna see how you can read from a file back to an object via JSON, okay? So again, let's get this one going. See how far you are able to get it. I'll be walking around, I'll be answering your questions, but that's it. Get this one. Now, here's another thing that I see a lot of people having a bit of confusion with this exercise. When you see the black screen, the back screen is about outputs to the console. It's not how the file should look like, okay? The file should not look like that. This is just the output to the console that you have to show at some point. Okay? The file is just each record, each order will be in one line. Okay? As we did for the text, as we did for JSON. When you see the black screen here in the exercise, this is the output to the console. That's it. Again, get this started. Use this time well. I cannot stress enough. Use this time well because that's the time that you have to practice and have me answering your questions. Okay? So let's get this started. Any questions? Okay, let me take a quick attendance here while you get started. Yep. Okay, I'm a Preet. Yep. Anu. Brandon. Kai. Yep. Okay. Danny Fu. Fabio. Jayton. Jay. Jiang Cao. John Avenido. Luana. Lufo. Manpreet. Marvin. Mehmet. Mukahit. Raul. Ravi. Ricky. Yep. Ritesh. Salim. Sampath. Sanchit. Smruth. Yep. Steven. Yep. I called you already. I put your presence. Tenjinder. Theory Kine. Tomoki. Vin. Wahida. Inu. Why I knew you knew. Eugene. Youngsek. Zangir. If I did not call your name, let me know. You had a question?
So for the first time, when we were doing in the first week, you told that you can do your assignment in 3 different solutions. You told us in the class that you were doing, yeah.
Did I?
Yeah, but you in assignment. So one thing I know that I did a mistake of overloading methods. You put it there.
Okay.
But apart from it, you have said should have been one solution for the project.
Can you open the assignment? Not your assignment. I mean the description of the assignment. The extra assignment.
So these were 3 assignment: overload, reference
Yeah,
out,
so
and
just the
parent.
description of the assignment, not the assignment itself, but the wording of the assignment, the PDF.
The PDF of the question of the assignment.
In the question, it was written to add all the questions in one solutions. But in the class, you told us that for the first assignment, you can make 3 different solutions. You told in the class. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you told that we will introduce packages in the next class, and in the
But it has
second.
nothing to do with packages.
To have different you have told that we will learn to have different solution in second week, and in the second week you told about that, but for the first week you didn't told about that you should have every solution, every answer in different in one solution.
Okay, so next time, just follow what
For the next
just follow what is asked in assignments, okay? As long as you follow what's asked in the assignments, okay?
Okay.
Okay? Yes.
Sorry, this is because I was doing the assignment.
Yep.
So in the textbook, I read that
Yep.
when you don't initialize a value, it has a garbage value.
Well, it has a default value.
Yeah.
Well-
So these here, if I don't initialize the rest of the variables, do I have to put in like every variable and write 0, or does it by or itself take some default value?
It will take a default value. I mean, I wouldn't call them the book might be referring to garbage value. I don't know.
Like
The
in the
strings
text.
have null.
In the
String
text-
is null, integers
Yeah,
are 0, decimals, if I'm not mistaken, is 0 as well. So,
Like when I was reading the textbook
Yep.
yesterday, it said like if I declare a variable, let's say int ratings, and I do not assign any value to it initially, then when I'm doing my calculations, if I'm using that variable as a part of calculations, it might assume a garbage value instead of 0. Is that true? Like I know in C you have garbage values, you have to initialize them to be
Initialize.
0. Is that
Well-
in C# also?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. When you declare a variable, there is a default. I mean, if it's a string, it's null.
Yeah.
But if it's a primitive, there is a default value that gets assigned to them. So my point is that if you're asking if you should initialize or not, if the exercise is asking you to initialize, do it. If not, I'll leave it up to you to decide if you want to initialize or not. But again, just follow the guidelines of the exercise and it should be fine.
Also, Professor, this is small doubt. Was
Yep.
this assignment that you gave supposed to use, like, was it based on looping concepts, or can I use my own logic? I have not,
If it's not explicitly asking you there,
Okay.
then it's up to you to decide. So, I mean, I'm not gonna ask you to do a loop if I did not say
in
use
the
a loop. Use a loop.
okay.
I'm gonna say, I mean, if I require something, I will ask for that.
You'll particularly write.
I'll particularly write that, like do in one solution.
Okay.
Okay?
So, but for the first assignment, I felt that I know that everything that it was written to do every
Okay.
exercise.
Send me a note. Send me a note. Remind me of that, and I'll consider. Okay?
I'll mail you.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
It's about the assignment. I have some questions.
Okay.
So you start asking us to write some constructors without parameters, and the second one with some parameters.
Yep.
But you asked for the second one to include the employee ID as a parameter.
Yep.
So, but it's a read-only.
Yeah. But then read-only is the property. The field is not read-only. So you can potentially
I
just
can-
assign direct to the fields.
That's what I did here. I include
That's okay.
the default information here inside.
The employee there, initialize with 1. Is it? Can you go back to the exercise there? So the first constructor, define read-only. So you are assigning one. The exercise is asking to assign 1 there, or you just did that because you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I just
That's fine. That's fine. That's okay. I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to necessarily. But if the exercise is not asking, you don't have to. But if you did, that's fine. That's okay.
Because when I'm calling this constructor here, I need to put a value.
Go back there. Yeah, you need to put some value.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that this is helping?
Because here I'm calling. I create 2 objects here.
Yeah, employee 1, employee 2, okay.
And I'm using this ID, employee ID, to pass for the...
So you're creating 2 employees with the same ID?
Yeah. No, I'm passing this object information here.
Yeah, you're creating 2 employees with the same ID.
I'm passing to the second one.
So again, you're creating 2 employees with the same ID. Do we have 2 students with the same ID?
So I believe that's the
You
number.
can just put the number there. That's fine. That's fine. Unless the exercise is asking, make sure that you ask the user what is the employee ID. Otherwise, you can just put your number. But don't keep them the same, because you won't have a system with 2 employees with the same number.
Okay. Another question would be about this one. For the second object, ask the user to enter first name, last name, base, and
Salary, gross sales. Yep.
so it should be before or after I create the object?
When you ask, it's up to you. Because here's the thing. At the end, you have to ask and store the information.
What I did, I create a method inside the asking for the information.
Okay, ask for the got it. Out strings, and then you set them up like that. So you call the methods.
Call the method.
So out, and then you set them up. That's fine. That's okay. It's okay. Yeah, that's okay. As long as you are storing in the objects, it's fine.
So the only thing that I need to change is because I have the same.
Yeah, and again, unless the exercise is asking you to ask the user, the ID, define read-only
Actually,
properly.
I can ask the user because it's a read-only property.
Well, but you can ask, and you can use the, well, for the first one, you're correct. For the first one that you use the constructor that has no parameters, you're correct. There's no way that you can ask that. For the second one, you can. But yeah, you're right. The only thing that I would change is just how you are setting the employee number. You can put it through. Yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah, because I don't, you said you don't like magical numbers, so I don't.
The other option would be to ask the user.
I can do that because it's a read-only.
No, but for the second one, you can. You just did. You just put a 2 there. It's read-only, but you just did there. You can ask before, and whatever the user answers, you can send in as a number. You can ask I'm not saying that you should do that.
But the property, it's read-only.
Yeah, but you can set from the constructor. You just did that. Look at your code. You just send the 2. Guess what this 2 will become? The employee number. So I'm talking about the second one. For the second object that you can use this constructor that has the employee number, you can ask the user for that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that you should. This is fine, but you could.
Yeah, I didn't because the exercise say here.
It does. Yeah, that's fine. It's not saying. You can just set the value there.
It just asked me for do that.
Got it. That's fine. That's okay.
About this part, gross sale comes -0. You need to check and validate. What I did, I included here the information.
Okay, let's look at the question there. Commission rate, you need to check and validate that the user is entering acceptable value. Okay, what if the user didn't enter the accepted value? What happens then?
set up here the if it's below 0, it will set up to the minimum amount.
Okay.
If it's up to 1 would be the maximum amount.
Okay, I like that. I like that solution. That's fine. So sets. You're doing that in sets.
Asking him to type
To type again and again.
If 1.2 would be the maximum, and it's below 0 would be the minimum.
Got it. So if the user types above that, it becomes that. Below that, it becomes the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is that okay?
I like that. Yep.
I did the same thing for the
Makes
other.
sense. Yep.
The gross sales below would be 0, and base salary also below 0 would be.
Got it. That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, value. Let me see here. Okay. Just one quick second here. At this point here, gross sales is not set yet. Value is what you should be checking here. Because gross here is where you set the value. But right here, if you're just using the system for the first time, gross sales will be 0. When you set the value, value is the new number. Let's say if you set the value to 10, value has 10, but gross sales here doesn't have 10 yet. So it doesn't know what is the value of gross sales yet. So you should do the testing with value, not commission rate. Commission rate here is not set yet. Commission rate here is all zeros. Value is the one that has the value that you want to check. Value is the value that you want to check, not commission rate yet, because you didn't assign yet.
I was working with that because I'm asking here for the information, right? So the input that he gave me here,
Yep.
you set value.
Okay, so go to your set again. Can you scroll all the way up? I just want to check one thing here. All the way. Okay, so private. Okay, that's fine. So go back there. Go to that set that you were testing. You're doing your test there. Yeah. So the point is that I know that you are setting commission rate, correct? But when you set commission rate, it runs this. It doesn't become magically this. You're gonna set, it runs this code, then at some point you're gonna set the commission rate. But right here, you didn't set it yet. Right here, commission rate doesn't have the number that you set. Let's say commission rate you set to 10%. When you set to 10%, it starts here. If commission rate less than or equal to 0, it will be 0 because you didn't set it yet. You set the property, but now you need to set the private field. You didn't set yet. So this value here, commission rate, is still 0 because you just declared it inside your object, inside your class.
Okay.
So you have to check the value of value.
Okay.
Okay? Unless you assign as the first line. If you do this assignment as the first line, then you do whatever you want to do there. Got it? What's up?
So I know that first what thing I want to ask is the public's order. I know that the default is 0, right? So can we write the empty constructor instead of I know you're writing the struct constructors at reflecting structure quantity 0 unit by 0.
If you can write without that, yeah, you can.
Can I just leave it blank and this is okay?
Yeah, as long as the question is not asking you to do any initialization, is it asking or not? Yeah, setting some values to the.
No.
Okay, so that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And I know that you did so read only. You don't have the sets value, right? So that's how you do sets read only. And can we just put it there, but then we leave it blank? Is this considered the same?
No, you cannot. I don't think. See, it's even showing. You don't. If it's a read only, don't put set at all.
Don't put set at
Yeah.
all. Okay. And we try to understanding like, so, why the total price equal to the, why do you put it inside the unit price?
Well, there are different ways that you could solve this. You could put this calculation in the get. So this is another option here, to put right here, right before you return. Right before that, you can calculate it right here as well. The same line, you could have it here, and you could get rid of this from here. Okay. Now, that's another option. But you can also calculate total price when the unit price changes and when the quantity changes.
Oh, okay. I understand what you mean. You put it in the unit price is because like
Whenever quantity
set.
changes, whenever it set runs whenever
Yeah,
changes.
some people go in there and changing the
Yes.
value, and then this
And then you calculate.
automatically calculate.
Yeah, that's one way. Another way is what you just did. You put it in the get of the total price. Whenever we try to get the total price, then we calculate right there.
Okay.
It's just
If
another
I would
option.
put it over there, it will not automatically change when they were putting the quantity.
Yes.
I have to call them out again.
Yeah,
in order-
whenever you want to get the value of total price, then it will calculate it.
Then we'll calculate. Otherwise, it will stay at what use old price.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? Some. What's up?
I have a question about this is the old classes.
Okay.
So this is the private constructor, right?
Yeah.
So what does it do here?
A private constructor. Well, it's just doing that, setting the value. How you could use that?
Yeah.
Another constructor could call this private constructor. Another constructor.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
you could do something like this. Let's say this one here. Let's say that this constructor, you want to call, for whatever reason, you want to call this one here, then you want to run this after that. What you could do is you
Only
could
we can call this in this.
inside another constructor.
Okay.
In the
In
context,
this class, right? Not in the other class.
no, because it's private.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so what we can do is we can do something like this, semicolon or column, and then you can call this, just type in this, parentheses open and close. So when you do this, it's calling another constructor
Oh, okay.
that has no parameters here. Which one has no parameter? This guy here.
Ah.
And it's not static. I mean, static is not considered for that. So here, this means give me another constructor that has
No
these
parameter.
no parameters in this case. So it's gonna, see, it's even pointing
So
there.
this one is also no parameter. So.
Yeah, but this one is static.
Oh, okay.
Here, what you are using, you are calling a non-static a non-static constructor.
Okay.
So-
in this case,
Yeah.
it calls this one.
Yes.
Okay. Another question is.
Yep.
Static. What's the difference between this static constructor and the public one?
Okay, the static constructor, it's not about public or static, because public statics are two different things. They are not competing things. You can have a public static, not constructor though. You can see what we have is static constructors and non-static constructors like this. You see, they don't have the static keywords.
Yeah.
So they are
Non-static.
non-static. So
Okay.
what is a non-static? Is a constructor that runs once for the entire application. So whenever you declare the first object of that type, and you create that object, that constructor static one runs. But just for the first object of for the first object of that type. Because it's static, it applies to the entire class, not just to the object. So it runs only once per application. And again, you don't call it explicitly. It's called behind the scenes. Whenever you create the first object
From that static.
from that class,
Yeah.
the static constructor runs as well. But just once per application. Not per object, but per the entire application.
And by the way, what's this override here?
Override, we're gonna talk a little bit about overrides tomorrow. But override is just saying that, okay, I know that my parent class has a tree string. I'm overwriting that. I'm changing it. Yes, I'm changing it. Tomorrow we're gonna touch that point and you're gonna see a better example. Okay?
I'm not getting up to like that, but how we can extend it, like, sir, this we have to make in another one, or this we have to make in another one?
Another line?
No, another file, like something.
Yeah. So what's your question?
Sir, my question is like first we can do like this, by building this and updating it, like order number is 10. And just try to enhance how we can enhance it, like, in the same file.
Well, look at what it's saying. It's saying, enhance by doing what? Just read number 2.
Okay, sir, we can just move to this.
Yeah, you can change. If you want to create a copy and keep a copy of that and create a second copy, that's fine. If you want to change the existing one to enhance that, it's okay as well.
Like, what is the best way, like as per test is considered, we can say?
Well, in the test, I'm not going to ask for something like that, exactly, because I need to know what you did before and after that. So this is just an exercise. So what you could do here, if you want to keep...
So we can just move to this part and we can understand the previous, right?
Well, I would suggest you to go one by one. Don't skip because you may...
Okay.
So what I would recommend is that keep one,
Okay.
the exercise one.
We can use that multi-line command for it. Like first we can use command, and because it is on the same file, we have to do these two tasks. So.
Or you could comment it out.
Yeah.
You could create another chunk of code to comment the first one. It's up to you. If you want to create a second copy of that project and then do the enhancements on that copy. Okay? Yeah.
In this IDE, I used a shortcut to create the get
Sir, it wastes a lot of time, sir.
Can we use this, or
No problem.
we have to write it?
Sir, in test we can do like.
So what shortcut are you talking about? Are you referring to this way?
It's Control R and Control E, and I press this, and it creates a getter and setter.
Okay, so do you know what that is?
Yes, getter and setter are.
Yeah, what syntax is that one? This equals to and greater than. What is that? Do you know what that is?
Arrow notation. Arrow notation.
It's a lambda notation.
Yeah, lambda notation.
So again, you are using something that you don't even know what it
I just
means.
know the term, but I've used this in Kotlin and.
Okay, so what if you want to do something more than just get the value? What if you want to expand? What if there are some lines of code there? I mean, I can tell you this exercise, you may not be able to do like that.
Okay, so it's better to go with the.
Again, you may get stuck. If you keep trying like that,
Yeah.
you may get by, but again, you may get stuck with this exercise. Okay? I'll leave it up to you. It's your call. I would recommend to keep it extended. We're going to touch on that syntax a little bit later in the course, okay? But I would be concerned that you'd be stuck with certain things, like, for instance, total price is supposed to be calculated based on quantity and unit price. How are we going to do that? There.
Alright, so that has to be.
You'd have to expand this a little bit more. Again, I'll leave it up to you. If you want to take the chances, okay?
So for marking, will this thing be considered, or how?
It will. As long as it's doing what it's supposed to do,
Okay, yeah.
it's okay.
So for example, if I have to define a bit of total price and rest of the variables, I'm keeping it like that. So
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. One second, I'll be there in a second. What's up?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I
No problem. No problem.
I actually want to know where your jazz playlist is.
What is the playlist? Okay, it's I'll put there on Padlets. It's Spotify. Well, I don't know. I'm paying for Spotify, so maybe you have some access there for free. So copy play.
There's some songs that you cannot even but this one I can just
That's okay. That's okay. I can put it there. Yeah, that's. Are you with this class? No, are you with this class? in next class? Okay, so maybe you wait for 12 minutes to get, because the class is still going on right now. No problem. What's up? Yeah, I'll just announce one thing and then you're free to go, okay? Okay, just a quick note. So you can carry on with the exercise. That's how we're gonna wrap things up for today. Still be around for another 12 minutes. Tomorrow, you're gonna start a new topic called inheritance, okay? So tomorrow is about inheritance. This exercise in this topic, carry on with the exercise. Maybe not for tomorrow, but maybe for the next few days. I'll be providing the solution and the step-by-step video on how to put this together. So again, use this exercise to practice because you're gonna need that for assignments, for the test. Tomorrow, you're gonna have inheritance, you're gonna have more exercises. And again, tomorrow there's no bonus. You're gonna have just exercises that you're gonna take home and be able to practice with them. I'll be providing again solutions and videos on each and every single exercise that we're gonna be doing between today and tomorrow. But that's it. That's about it for today. Again, I'll still be around for the next 10 minutes, so you can ask me questions, okay? Yes. What's up?
Today's JSON exercise. Will you upload it today?
It's already on Centennial. Go there.
Really? Okay.
Yep. So go to week 4, scroll down, and it's right there.
This
See?
one.
Yes. Okay. Another quick note, just so you know, I also provided a video series explaining exercise 3. All the exercises there, they are all explained via this series here. So again, step by step there. If you get stuck, let me know. But that's how we're gonna be working, okay? I'll be demonstrating some things. Some exercises I cannot demonstrate step by step, but I'll record videos so I can demonstrate there and you can have as a reference point, okay? It doesn't create the file?
Yes, and I have.
Okay, so the build failed. So we have to see what is the error. Cancel that, maximize the view. And the error is right here. Let's have a look. Okay. See, does not contain a definition of arrangement. Maybe it's a spelling mistake.
Oh, really?
Okay? Okay, no problem.
wondering for the part where you have to input the number of orders
Yep.
that the user wants to make.
Yep.
I was thinking, like, I'm not sure if this is the right way, but like using like a for loop.
A for? That's fine. Yeah,
Say
that's
numbers.
good.
But in order to do that, you would have to create a new object per order, right?
Yeah. So what you can do is you can inside the loop you can be saying new order, new order, new order, new order. At the end, you write. So after each loop, you create a new order and you write to the file. Create a new order, write to the file. So you can keep creating as many orders as you want. It's the same name, but every time it loops, it creates a new one. And you write at the bottom. Creates and writes, creates and writes.
So, like, for instance, like the line.
You write, yeah, so
Yeah. Like
you're doing fine
so
there.
For this,
Yeah,
right?
you're fine there.
So essentially, like when I loop, right, it doesn't need like the objects don't need a unique name.
No, because every time it loops back, it's like you are creating a new context. It's a new. It's like it does remember the last time.
Oh, so it's like order one didn't have.
Yes,
wrote
it's just a
it
new
and
one
pushed
and a
it
new
away
one and a new one. Yes, because this object here is only available in this first loop. When it goes again, it's like that one is gone and you create a new one, even though it's had the same name, but memory-wise, it's a brand new object, a brand new object, a brand new
and
object.
then when you write it, it just sticks it to
Saves,
the wall and then
save
goes
it there,
back
and then it goes back, starts a new one, and then saves, and goes back.
Okay, that makes way more
Make sense?
All right,
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
No problem. What's up? Yep.
I'm not sure why it's not allowing me to input the number here.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did you copy this project? Did you copy that from Centennial and you modified, or it started from scratch here? This
Start from
project.
Scratch. but
Scratch?
this part of code I copy and paste. But I
Because I've seen some students having difficulties with this on a Mac, and usually what I advise to them is start a project in your Mac from scratch. Don't copy. Again, I'm not sure if it's the case for you, but that's what I saw before. You're not the first one that tells me that. Again, that was give it a try. Have you seen that before, or did it work before in another project?
in another way, it won't.
It worked? Yeah, so I'll give it a try to start a new project from scratch and just do a test try to collect some information from the user, see if it works, okay? Okay, everyone, so that's it. I'll see you all tomorrow morning, okay? Have a good one, good day. Safe driving, safe commuting there.